Hi everyone. Thanks for coming to our podcast today. Really honored to have two of my very good friends coming to the podcast and discussing the future of like front-end coding and website creation, especially for consumers. First, we have Xiaoying, who is the founder and the previous CEO before AI take over of HeyBoss. And then
Hi,
also, Xiaoying, you can go. Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm super happy to be here. I'm the founder of HeyBoss, and as of last month, I fired myself and make AI our CEO. Super happy to be here and talk about it.
Yeah, and then Howie is a very famous entrepreneur, investor, and also like a very famous influencer on like AI enterprise, now consumer, and also on like a kind of Silicon Valley startup general learning. I have been like mentored by Howie since PhD time, and Howie used to be like from Greylock, and then like lead AI in Palo Networks, now at Neo Today AI. So like Howie will share us also like maybe like a 1 minute sharing like your journey.
Yeah, so I've been in Silicon Valley forever, but in the last 10 years, I've been doing AI stuff. First started my own company, and then got acquired by Zscaler, and I went to Palo Alto Network, and now I'm the chief AI officer at Gen Digital. So I've been running AI for three public companies. However, in the recent past, I've been very passionate about doing consumer products. NeoToday.ai shows you the first safe AI native product, AI native browser you are going to have. So if you want to give a try, register today. But today, the focus is actually Xiaoying. I'm really, really curious about what Xiaoying has been doing. And then you and I have been talking about your product. I would love to double click. Today is about HeyBoss.
So should I talk about it? Yeah. So so HeyBoss, essentially what we do is we're an AI development team for anybody who does not know how to code but have a business. So we essentially have all the roles that a typical tech team have, including a product manager, designer, engineer, content writer, marketer, and they together form there's multiple agent together, helps people build a website and grow their business.
So one question I have for you is, this is a very cool idea, right? But, creating website is not new, or creating website automatically has been an idea for many years. So with the AI, I'm pretty sure we can build a far better, far broader, far more powerful the websites. So you have launched this product recently, right? So can you tell us, some cool examples you have seen? Wow, people used my HeyBoss and then did something amazing. Just give us some ideas, the real examples.
Yeah. So I guess we launched a month and a half ago, and we have currently like tens of thousands of people running their businesses with HeyBoss. So for some example, there have been a lot of musicians who want to basically showcase their work, their music, their tour, their portfolio. We have, people who are coaches and that teaches people different things, and they can sell courses and run their community. We have different like alumni associations running their community, their alumni network with events. Essentially, that's like how they engage with their alumni and get more donations. We obviously also see a lot of startup companies, whether it's doing their homepage or building a MVP, we're building a landing pages, those like lead magnet or calculator that try to convert people and identify who is the most high qualified customer and then convert them. So they have been using us to build the entire flow as well.
That's very interesting. So Bill and I were at the event at AGI House over the weekend. And one of the things I talked about, at AGI House is one key use case for this, AI revolution is to enable a new type of entrepreneurship, which is, I call it a neighborhood entrepreneur. And what you just told me, right? For musicians or whatever, they can be their own entrepreneurs now, right? And then they would have their own website. So it sounds like you are kind of empowering the next generation or a generation of the neighborhood entrepreneurs now.
I love your thesis. Yeah, so I think we've been talking about, one person YC company. I guess especially with Curse and all of that.
One person YC company, one person unicorn, but I think a one person unicorn will be very rare. But neighborhood entrepreneur will
be many millionaire. One person millionaire probably will be a million, probably more than a million, like hundreds of millions of one person millionaire. I think that's kind of what we're focusing on. We're less about making the next Zuckerberg, but I think there's tens of millions of people who have some skills, or maybe they're a nurse, they teach yoga, they know how to like find cheaper deals in Amazon. There are people with some skills, and they wanted to use AI to automate a lot of their work, and they want to use AI to help them grow their business. So we've been more focusing on anybody who want to run a business. They may not have the resources. They're definitely not technical. They definitely don't know how to code, but they have the idea and they have some skills, and they want AI to operationalize everything else. So including building a website, but also how do you figure out the slogan? How do you figure out the logo? How do you figure out the messaging? How do you figure out SEO to bring more traffic to Google? I think our user they know what they do, which is teaching yoga or teaching courses and serving food, but they don't know everything else about how do you really make money from digital economy? How do you operationalize your business? And that's when we want to provide the AI team. Each of them has a skill, the engineer, designer, content writer, SEO marketer. Each of them has a skill that I think most of our users do not necessarily have. And so if you embrace with the AI team that can do everything for you, so you can really focus on what you're good at, and everything else operationalized essentially can be done by AI. And that is our vision. We think it's easier that you can be like, the AI is running your business autopilot. You just provide your skills, and that's it. Yeah.
It's very interesting vision, right? Yeah, Xiaoying, we have been talking for a long time, and we talk about all the the startup are kind of change the roles and finding PMF. It seems like you have found the PMF that at least you are very happy with, and I saw you have super strong energy over the last few months. One question I'm actually curious is from your description, it's still kind of in between small business and a prosumer, right? It's still more like empowering people that are doing this to make money. So that for you, you do not consider your user kind of consumer, right? You consider probably your user more like people who are enabled to replace people that they used to be probably need to hire some engineer outsource to do this work. And I were doing some a slightly different use case, also creating websites, since now it's actually not that hard, right? With the Cloud4, with all that to create a website. We are more I guess, even more consumer focused, I guess, Manus or Janspark, where we are more personalized and we focus on even simpler agentic experience. It's kind of more complex than Perplexity, but simpler than what you have, the kind of website you build on Manus, right? It's we're launching the product next week, and we are thinking, okay, how do we charge people? It's probably all consumers, so probably something around $10 to $30 per month is the max we can charge user. And the productivity aspect is probably serving user as a one-time burnable website that you give it to the user to show, and then you see it once and then click around it. Say maybe give your wife a birthday, kind of a luxury gift shelf, right? So your wife open this website and feel very happy, but your wife will probably be the only user of this website. That's kind of the scenario we are thinking. For your website, it seems it's actually a serious website that eventually someone live in Middle East, working on maybe a very, very good truck driver, a coach, or some yoga teacher is using for a year or something, right? So where do you think the different allocation of resource will look like, and also how do you think about pricing?
So I think for your type of thing, a website is a medium, but the goal is to help people maybe solve a problem. It could be, I want to do some data analysis, I want to do some research, and you use website as a deliverable that contains those information. I think most of your website probably is, from a website standpoint, is more static, but the information is where you're smart enough to do the research and get all the data. For us, the website is their business. So from a branding standpoint, that has to match their brand. Like if I'm a yoga teacher teaching, moms, maybe I'm really into pastel colors, like macaroon, like French macaroon themed, or I'm a matcha store. I really enjoy the Japanese zenfo thing. So we have to make sure the website matches their brand. We also have to make sure the website matches their business goals. So maybe my goal is I want more people to subscribe to my course, and then they can talk to my chatbot, and then I can recommend the course and they can purchase. versus I'm a restaurant. I want people to look at my like menu, and then maybe they can order some takeout and pick up in the restaurant. So different company, I would say, have different goals, and we have to make sure that from a website standpoint, because our users are not technical, they don't understand database, they don't understand integrations, they don't understand what is front end, what is back end. They understand their business model. They understand I'm selling courses. I want more people to call me. I want more people to book my calendar. So we have to have all the integrations, all the back end, all the databases, without telling the user what we're doing, and basically deliver the functionality. So from that regard, I guess the bar for our website is higher. The brand needs to work. The business logic needs to work. You also have to be highly reliable, bug-free. But I guess from a frequency standpoint, I guess people don't need to always create a brand new website for their business every month, right? They probably do this every few years, and then they pay us to host their business. So we also actually charge people for hosting in addition to just creating the website. So I think in terms of creation, ours will be a much lower frequency compared to yours, which probably people can have all kinds of questions they want to get resolved every month. Ours is not going to happen that fast, but we really make money from hosting and managing that website. So like now you want more traffic from SEO, we have to constantly monitoring your traffic. Now you want to make sure whenever there's a customer sign up, there needs to be a CRM that stores customer data and figure out a way where you can export those data to your own marketing, whatever tool. So we have to make sure we can operationalize the website. So that I think that's where the stickiness come from, is less about the creating the website at the very beginning.
I see.
Yeah, Howie. Yeah.
Actually, this last question, like on this topic. So actually not focusing on charging people like say $100 or $50 per month as the main revenue. Instead, you think it's more like the SaaS style, like I have like all your data here, so you're bound to pay me in the next 3 years as like the main business model.
So today we highly subsidize the development credit right now. We make the first version for free, which is basically 95% of your entire website. Then we give you a bunch of credit for you to edit your website. So we're very different from Cursor or Lovable of the world, where they charge you based on development credit. We try to reimburse you for that. But once you are done and you really enjoy the website, that's when you hit publish. And then that's when we have a similar model as like, Wix or Squarespace, where Webflow, we charge you based on hosting. So depending on the type of features you have and the volume of your website, then you pay us different fee per month for us to manage all your customer, manage all your traffic, making sure your domain's connected well. So we do all of that stuff. That's kind of how we make the recurring revenue.
I see.
So essentially what you are doing is kind of the SaaS, but for the long tail, what I call neighborhood entrepreneurs or whatever, right? Small, scale entrepreneurs. Do you see yourself eventually serve, bigger and bigger customers, so that, you are the, competing with those SaaS companies? Or do you see those SaaS companies will go towards your direction, a lot more AI powered? How do you see SaaS in general? Maybe that's a question.
So I think it's a great question. So I used to work at Facebook, and I know Facebook has used like Wix before. Facebook also needs to make website. A lot of them, like developer events or community where they teach people how to use particular API. Those are the type of things they do. They're not going to make the $1 million per year engineer to develop. They actually either use Wix or they hire some contractors from India or Pakistan, right? So to that degree, we are that freelancer team from India and Pakistan, except we're faster and cheaper. So to some degree, we do think there's a lot of use cases where big companies have too. We're not trying to do the most.
That's a long tail use case. It's not necessary for the small guys, right? Facebook is not that small.
Yeah, we're not trying to be the next Zuckerberg to revolutionize tech. But there's like, tens of thousands of those like smaller events that Facebook and other companies are hosting. And typically the person who's in charge of that is not a tech person, it's operation person, customer success person, or marketing person. And then they are not tech savvy. So we serve those kind of use cases too. But we're not trying to be the next YC company where you can raise, we're $100 million with your AI agent. That's not where we're focused. But there are so many other people, including people in tech, that are not focusing on the technical side of things. They're focusing on the customer engagement, the marketing, the events, all of that kind of stuff, where they want something easy and handy and just get it done. And they don't enjoy the process of, vibe coding 1,000 prompts to get it done. They want one prompt to get it done, and they can, take a coffee break. So that's kind of what we're focusing on right
But to your point, even Facebook can be your customer. If that's the case, each and every YC company can be your client because they always have some kind of the needs, right?
Some kind of need, exactly. Yeah. So we're not trying to make the most technical savvy hard thing, but we want to make sure everybody in their company know how to use us. So they don't need to they don't need to take an academy course on how to vibe code or how to prompt engineer. They don't need to take those courses. They can just use it like Canva. Everybody in the company, including Facebook, is using Canva for designing posters and social media posts and stuff like that. So we're that before coding, and we're targeting more website and for business use cases.
So I have a question on the maybe a little bit more technical.
Yeah, sure.
For websites, right? You can always create a website that's sort of quick and then maybe dirty, maybe not dirty, but it looks more beautiful. However, a lot of times, other websites spend weeks, months, and then maybe a much longer time to harden it, right? To make sure hackers cannot get in or things like that. With AI, how do you make sure your website is bulletproof? Now, of course, no website is bulletproof. I'm not trying to say bulletproof, but how do you harden your website? How do you, get users to have the peace of mind, I guess?
Yeah. So today, first of all, we handle all the backend ourselves. So it's not like in Cursor, you have to also sign up for Supabase and, Supabase managing that. So we actually handle everything ourselves. So all the databases, all your data, all your user login is actually controlled by us. But because that's not only is safer, but also it's easier for user to understand. So we handle that. And then when it comes to deployment, we also handle that ourselves. We obviously use some existing tools like maybe Cloudflare or AWS, but we have to make sure that each of the users' domain has been protected in a certain way, and then making sure that's fast. And then the type of website the AI created can load really fast. And particularly in mobile phone, because a lot of our users, their target audience, are using mobile to access the yoga teacher's website or the coffee shop's website. So it has to be mobile really friendly. So we've been really optimizing for that kind of performance. I think obviously compared to other tech company where you have a lot of huge amount of data, and then you have to figure out, there's all kinds of stuff. I think for us, the thing in there is much simpler, but the performance is more rely upon SEO, mobile performances, and also making sure that the entire experience of connecting your domain, hooking up your data is very easy and seamless. The user doesn't need multiple accounts. They can just say to the AI, connect the database, where they don't even need to say that. We say, here's your data, here's your form response, and then it's done. So I think that we do have to manage that, but we optimize in a very different way, maybe compared to other tech software focused development solution.
Yeah, this is super interesting. I've been thinking about how can I automate my own front-end engineers and even to some extent the UX designers. So one thing I've been thinking is maybe I shouldn't have 3 teams, right? One for website, one for Android, one for iOS. Should probably just do Flutter and then do one button deployment. And then next question is, can I have some AI that's basically I just prompt and then on the fly generate me iOS test flight and also Android APK to install.
I've seen other companies trying to do that. I think Android is easier. The problem is when you launch to the App Store, you have to deal with human. And they're like, oh, you didn't do the login with Apple in this proper way. You have to change it. So someone needs to understand what they're saying. Maybe AI can do, but right now I think the blocker, we have some user initially when we didn't know we were going to focus on website, we did everything. And there's some user who are trying to launch their mobile, app, iOS or Android, and their blocker is talking to the support staff, then really internalizing their feedback and make it happen,
But how about the APK, the Android APK? Do you think it's more technically now we are ready to it and it's just distribution problem?
I think APK is easier. At least you don't need to deal with the review stuff.
But technology-wise, do you think the UX and all that is good enough for today? Is AI able to understand the multi-step UX flow on an Android mobile app to create
I would say I think at least for us, because we have an internal product manager that does the AI product manager, they handle multi-flow. So it's actually pretty good. I think from a technical standpoint, from a UX standpoint, for sure you can do it. That is no problem. The hard part is more just okay, now how do you launch to the App Store? How do you make sure more people use your app? But that's more marketing problem. So I guess for you,
that's much harder problem. Yeah.
I think for our user who are vibe coding, initially they vibe coding, it's no one's going to download their app. because they don't know how to do marketing. So it's like the blocker is more than just develop the app, it's also making people see the app, and that can be more challenging. But I would say for our target audience right now, the mobile app is not as important. If you're trying to go to a barber shop, you prefer to search for barbers in Rebel City and then go to their website. You're probably not going to, download another app just to access your barber. So I think that's less of a priority for us right now. I think the biggest priority is mobile performance. It's like when you load the website in your mobile phone, it has to look great. And most of the website builders today, like Wix and Squarespace, they came from a desktop first world, so their website looks like shit when you load it in mobile. It's not as good, it's not as nice. So we have to solve that problem. The other part is like when you land on the website, now you need an AI chatbot that maybe is your sales agent that can help you convert things. So they want more than just a static website. They want some functionality to help them either attract more user or convert more user or like manage their users. So that is something that I think the AI team can do a better job. So the website is the beginning, and now the AI team needs to continue to operationalize your business.
So a few weeks ago, I saw your post that you named your sort of you no longer do the CEO job. You have the Hey Boss be the CEO. Can you tell that story? What's the intention behind that?
Well, so when we first launched as an alpha a few months ago, we were co-pilot. So we still have some engineers and designer, and then some. When the user have a demand, we were not fully able to solve it entirely with AI. So there's some human in the loop. A month and a half ago, we became autopilot. So each of the AI agents can work by themselves, and then there's AI leader that can manage those AI agents by themselves. And so I think that is the biggest thing. We realize that first of all, from a efficacy and efficiency standpoint, if me managing all the employee, it now became AI agent, is not a good use of my time because I can never compete against the AI CEO. That's number one from an efficiency standpoint. Number two, from a customer service standpoint, now basically we have made the AI CEO serve each of the customer. Unless there's some issue that they don't know how to solve, then they escalate to humans. So the entire customer's journey of getting customer, attracting customer, understanding their feedback, and then analyzing what's not working into how to improve the company, that has been done using AI. So I think, I guess from the traditional 3 pillars of CEO is managing customer, managing employees, and understanding product direction. I think all of the 3 parts, I realized AI CEO is doing a better job than me. So that's why we kind of make the change a month and a half ago. But I would say right now, I still have to do some work when it comes to signing contract and when it comes to payment verification. There's a lot of work that I guess due to regulation, they don't accept AI to do that I have to handle. If there's anyone go to jail, that's me, not her. So there needs to be, from a compliance and data transparency standpoint, we have to be more proactive as human. I also noticed that when me and AI CEOs posting the same marketing content, I get more engagement. Maybe because I have some grammar mistake and I sound funny, whatever, but people seem to like my post more than AI. So I realized, okay, now I'm more playing a role of a hype person because I think I can be a better hype person than AI CEO. So there's still, I would say there's a lot of limitation. The third is we realized the AI CEO is not allowed to have a LinkedIn profile. So to some degree, she got discriminated because she's AI and LinkedIn doesn't know the difference between AI CEO and random spammy chatbot. They can't.
Because your company is not 16 years old. That's the only
Correct.
reason.
Yeah. So then now I have to post everything because she doesn't have an account. So I would say there's still a lot of things to be figured out with the current.
I think you're trying to make a point that I have a auto not just Copilot but a real L4 L5 level the fully automated AI boss that can walk through your clients with the entire journey, right? From taking the requirements to creating the websites to maybe taking additional requirements and iterate with customers what they need. So, and then AI agents will do all of the things. That's pretty interesting. So let me ask a philosophical question. All of us, from Stanford, and is there any reason to still go to Stanford? If AI can do everything.
Well, I dropped out.
Okay, you lead by example, or okay, Bill, you got a PhD, right, from Stanford.
I know.
Are you regretting right now?
I don't regret. I think it's kind of fun life. To me, the PhD is less of it's more like a enjoy the like educational journey, or more like I would say it's more like doing a vacation. Compared to doing startup, it's more like okay, I was able to hang out with very interesting people. I was very fortunate to be kind of in the epic center of both like deep learning of the early days, and also let's say like Bitcoin or the like crypto revolution in the early days. So I kind of enjoyed the days in Stanford that I feel I'm very lucky. But honestly, the research and also the work I did is probably irrelevant today. I mean, the only research I did relevant is probably like transformer stuff, which is not done at Stanford. It's like done in Google. So I think it's pretty hard to actually like do PhD in the normal PhD as like contribute to human knowledge boundary. And also the skills you trained is probably more like the soft skills is more useful. Right? I try to like say also interview for professor jobs, and through there, both of my very successful professor gave me a lot of like kind of coach on how to give talks, how to properly guide people with your like idea maze, and a lot of those things are actually super helpful for me in the days of like doing startup. Although I didn't end up being professor, right? I interviewed a bunch. I got like a bunch of decent offers. Then I was like, okay, COVID is here. It's kind of very boring to be a professor when you're just remote teaching. So I didn't really do any of that. But like, it's kind of like a very good education. I don't kind of regret learning or paying effort for things that like I on the past I didn't pan out. I think in the longer term when you review this, it's kind of like a exploration exploitation, right? I'd probably be much richer if I kind of do a like a drawing, say like some of the firms I used to work with like in 2017 or like 16, or do startup in 2016 17. But I think I probably miss a lot of the fun and get into more brutal battles in earlier days. And yeah, I think this different path in the end is like a quite fun journeys.
I agree
So
with everything you said, except the last thing you said. You know, I think every generation has a lot of opportunity, from 50 years ago to 40 years ago to 30, 20 years ago to next 20 years, 50 years. So Silicon Valley will always have tremendous amount of opportunities. But
yeah.
Otherwise, I agree with you everything. One of my friends, Kyle Foster, he's the founder and CEO of a startup called Renwen. And he went to Stanford as well. He just last week he posted something. He said, "I met my wife at Stanford, GSB, where Xiaoying dropped out. But you probably had a lot of fun over there." And he met his future investors, future colleagues, future co-founders. You a bunch, right? So I totally agree that there's nothing to regret. Still going for the education. But let's narrow this down a little bit, right? All of us are AI practitioners, and then we either are or manage programmers. What's the future of programmers?
Well, I can chime in a little bit. I think obviously what we do is we do AI coding. But I think the type of talent that I really, really want to hire, but it's actually really rare to find, is programmer that not only know how to program, but also know product and design very well. Because when it comes to prompting AI, we realize it's more than just an engineering task. A lot of times, how do you communicate your requests and how do you set standard for AI? For example, how do you know the website is good enough? Maybe for different industries, the valuation, the eval for that is quite different. Also, is not only objectively saying, here are the features, does it work? Is it bug-free? Those are easy to say, but there's a lot of subjective matter. It's like when the user landed on the matcha store that is Japanese simple style, does that user feel this brand is really premium? That is a really subjective feeling. Then we essentially need to prompt AI to figure out how to ideally do eval themselves on those brand, on the identity, on the vibe. And that is really hard to prompt and to solve as an engineering challenge alone. It has to have somebody who great, with great design taste and have great creativity. It's actually really hard to find those people. I think I realized that the people that work really well are people who are a programmer, but they also enjoy, photography, or they also enjoy being an artist. So they really have the skill of technical, architectural design, as well as great taste when it comes to subjective, feelings, emotions, and vibe. And I would say that's very, very hard for us to hire somebody right now. But once we hire that person, that basically saved multiple people's job, because before it's like you need a PM, you need a designer, you need maybe me, you need a customer service person, you need an engineer. They all have to work together. But if that person can handle everything with great taste, essentially that person can replace the product manager, the designers of the world. So I think that kind of people is very valuable, though we have trouble finding. But then obviously there's other engineer where they're so used to the, develop in the old way, they don't even know how to use cursor really well, but they're a really good engineer with a lot of experience, but they don't know how to embrace those AI tool. We realized that some of them productivity can be even lower, much lower than people who are maybe just graduate from college and know how to use AI tool, how to prompt really well. So I think that so then now I'm changing my criteria of like, what does a senior engineer really mean?
How do you interview people? Do you ask them come to your office and then do in front of you doing, coding but using AI tool? How do you interview people?
Well, I'm still trying to figure that out. We tried different approach. We tried obviously give them some kind of project where they can use AI to solve. We also try to make them work part-time for a period of time and give them some real tasks and see how they problem solve. And we will obviously pay them for those part-time and before we commit full-time. I'm curious to hear what you guys are doing, because I feel like ours is not as optimized today. Yeah.
Bill, what's your secret sauce?
Yeah, I think what Xiaoying is saying is what I've been looking for too. So I guess those people are very valuable, and I feel like it's extremely hard to find a really good person that is both a AI native product manager and also can ship code. I feel like those people are most unfortunate consumer AI startup field founders. And if I can pick up those people and let them join me, it'd be like a very valuable asset. In general, I don't see many people able to rise to that state. So I must kind of lose hope on getting those people. But if I find, I'll be super happy. I think those people are kind of the old days. So like in quant trading, we try to hire people that are very good programmer, very good mathematician, but also like in their free time, very strong trader that can human hand trade. If you can do three things, then you're apparently very valuable. Nowadays, I think with AI product building, you are looking for similar people in like a consumer product building, right? You need to understand UX. You need to understand the user's mental flow. You need to understand, say, like how that translates into Figma, then how Figma translates into like a code, and how code translates into a scalable code that does not break when 1 million people traffic flood in. Ideally it's 2%. Ideally it's 1% job, but you will never able to hire those people, probably doing startups themselves. So ideally it's like a 2% job, right? This is to figure out where to break down the task.
So what I'm hearing from both Xiaoying and then Bill is you guys need people who can do not just traditional engineer, or traditional PM, or traditional whatever UX. You want a person to actually have a span, pretty wide, span of variety of different skill sets. That's kind of important, right? And also, very happy to using the or good at using the AI tools, right? And then are able to take advantage of it. That so look, traditional way of interviewing, like on a Zoom call or whatnot, ask people to write code, even on the whiteboard, a lot of that makes less sense because AI can do it, or sometimes AI, you can feel AI can do it, and sometimes you don't know, but people on the other side of Zoom is using AI, right? So that's kind of it's harder and harder to interview people. So what I found is actually just bring the person in front of you, see the person, how the person does the coding in front of you. That's might be the one way. The other thing is actually do some work trial. Many San Francisco startups very much embracing that, right? I don't really know, because interview, how can you tell an interview from an interview? It's hard, right? And then these days, even a lot of the students from good schools, right, from Berkeley. We can make fun of Berkeley. A lot of the students from Berkeley cannot find the jobs. By the way, it's really across the board, right? So on one hand, we see whether programmers or new college grad cannot easily cannot find a job as easily as before in the high tech companies. But on the other hand, all of us heard from Xiaoying and Bill, right? It's still very hard for you to find qualified people. It's still very hard. So it's kind of we see this very interesting divergence. On the one hand, candidates harder and harder for them. And then at the same time for employers, essentially, especially the AI native employers, it's actually harder and harder for you to find good people at the same time. So that's a very interesting something going on.
I think there's a skill mismatch, right? The type of skills that we need. I think there's just not enough people with that training. And then so there's not even like vibe marketing. I guess probably seeing a lot of the vibe marketers. One of my friends I was talking to, they were saying that he has a different way of hiring those vibe marketers. It's like they don't necessarily have the marketing degree or have the right marketing experiences, but maybe they're very good at understanding sentiment in social media. They're very good at using different marketing tool. So one of their tests is they even make those vibe marketers basically automate a particular workflow themselves and then try to figure out how they can design maybe like an automatic way to post like Twitter in this particular way, to grasp this particular topic and this meme and repurpose that meme to their thing. So they have to try some really, really creative interview questions that the vibe marketers need to not only know the tool, but they also understand the sentiment. And I think that's like really, really hard for us to find, because normally we have a job post and we post in LinkedIn, it's people who used to work there as a marketer like apply. But when you really make those people do that kind of job, figure out ways to automate marketing posts in a way that get the most amount of comments, they actually don't know how to do that. So I say like I'm starting to see a lot of people who don't necessarily have the right background, but they have those skills and they're fast learners and they're smart and clever, are getting those jobs. But it's really hard to identify those people because they don't. Today we probably even filter them out. Just looking at the resume, it's like, oh, you don't have the marketing experience. But
that's very interesting. That's the last sentence is very interesting because the most qualified person might be auto filled out by you and then even by AI, right? Who knows? That's very interesting because fundamentally what you are, and I'm also saying the same thing, that the skill set, I mean, everyone, including you and me, everyone needs to reskill ourselves, right? And then needs to do, basically rethink about how we do our jobs. And that's true for new college grads and as well as for very experienced people. So that's a very interesting time. We live in a very interesting time.
I think it's not a new problem, honestly. I think every generation when there is new technology, this kind of hard to hire problem happens. And for bigger companies, they actually solve it by realizing they cannot hire qualified people, though those people would be too expensive. So they hire the raw talent, right? Typically, like algo trading firms in like 20 years ago realized, oh, there's no school that teach proper like data analytics and also trading intuition. Let me hire smart math PhD and physics PhD and then computer science PhD and then teach them basically from like just knowing nothing, right? Only like raw talents. And I think somehow OpenAI is like doing some of those. I mean, nowadays there's too many like produced strong AI PhDs because of like open source that it's actually easier to hire as like school did some of those preliminary training. But startup is different because we are also short on resource. So we cannot really afford to have the patience to train someone for 2 years and then in 3rd year they become a superstar. So identify superstar when they are trained on the wild is the real hard problem that is somehow can. We just hope maybe VC can like kind of do those like invest and spray approach and kind of help us basically prepare a lot of field founders. And I think field AI native product founders will be a pretty good hire for the next few years.
So you already keep referencing the job description, which is the field founders. By the way, I actually totally agree with you, Bill, on one thing. This kind of the rescaling thing, right, is not something new. on the one hand. But on the other hand, there's something new here, in my opinion, for this time around. Something new is the speed, and then how wide this is impacting, right? To your point, right? This happened to the trading floor on Wall Street, right? But it's not like everywhere, every street, everywhere, people are thinking about, AI is going to disrupt my industry, my kind of the company, my whatever, right? But this time, AI is actually disrupting pretty much, every industry to a degree, right? Even musicians, right? People who are able to use, Xiaoying's products, is going to have an advantage over other musicians who do not use Xiaoying's product. That's just one example, right? So I think in this time, the velocity, how big the impact, I think this is a very different. But otherwise, you are right. We have gone through this digitization for the last several decades. It's not new in terms of concept, but I think the societal impact is still very big. So I now that I've done commercial for Xiaoying, I wanted to do quick commercial for myself.
Yeah, please do. Howie.
The reason, but this is important, right? The reason, this is I have a number of theses, from the beginning, from beginning of the show, I said there will be a slew of the neighborhood entrepreneurs, right? And my another thesis is that people who's going to thrive in the AI, in the AI era. I think those are the people who are actually consuming a lot of the AI services, right? If you use a lot of AI services, you are going to be, by definition, kind of have some edge over people who do not use AI services, right? That's pretty obvious to understand. However, as it turned out, right, using AI service is not as easy. Sure, if I want a website, I go to Xiaoying. If I want to create some other, as a consumer creator, some other things, I go to Bill, right? That's good. However, on a daily basis, I read news, I read email, right? How am I going to do those things? And while consuming AI service, it's actually not easy. So my team built up this AI native browser with a few insights. The number one insights is, we all know there's a ChatGPT. You can ask ChatGPT a lot of questions, but guess what? Human beings are not very good at asking questions, right? So there are so many goodies in the ChatGPT. Many people, in America, outside America, they are not able to take advantage of that. So we built this web browser so that when you utilize this browser, when you do browsing, someone else, it's almost like there's another companion proactively giving you some insights, personalized, intelligent, the Superman-ish kind of advices or summary of information, whatnot. So that's kind of why we built up this Neo browser. The other thing is, today, we have Twitter, we have LinkedIn. We have fragmented digital spaces, right? Like right now, I'm dealing with, this interface. But guess what? If I go to the web pages, do I know there's important email coming to me? Do I know there's an important Twitter, right? So I do want some more unified digital spaces. So anyway, we built up a next generation browser, with the notion that it will give you proactive, intelligent, personalized AI services. Proactive is the important thing, and the other thing is, unifying your, the number of your digital spaces. So if you are interested, I know both of you should be interested. Neotoday.ai. Sign up, and then we will love to get your advice.
I love your website.
Okay, cool. I will tell my designer. He's going to be part of it.
Yeah, it's very fun. I was just poking at the website now, and I think one concept that is very interesting is tabless browsing. Maybe you can share a bit more why you think tabless browsing is the right.
Yeah, without, this is a little bit, I should do a demo, I cannot. But here's the thing. If you think about browser, right? Browser has 30-year history, from Netscape to Internet Explorer to Chrome. Most people use those three browsers over the last 30 years. And arguably, one of the biggest inventions after Netscape invented a browser 30 years ago is the tab, right? I don't know how much browser changes, practically. From the look and the feel point of view, it's still the same. the tab is the biggest invention, right? You know, you don't have to bring up multiple browsers. It's all in same place. That's great. Except, you know, for a person like myself, I always have 50, 100 tabs. I don't know. I mean, I know some goodies in one of the tab, but which one? I mean, it's so hard for me to see and to find, right? So, so the notion we have is, you know, what if tab is so easy to find? You don't have to worry about it. I mean, I actually remember the first time I got a Gmail. I was so excited, you know, of course, before the two of you were born, you know, that was, you know, many years ago. But the first time I got a Gmail, I was so excited. Guess what? Because before Gmail, I've keep deleting emails, right? I keep managing my email because, you know, Hotmail, Yahoo Mail give me, you know, limited quota. With Gmail, you know, almost unlimited, right? Almost at that time, you know. And then the other thing is, if I want to find something, I always archive and I can always find it, right? Same thing, we wanted to use this for tab, meaning that you don't have to worry about it. You close it, you open it, you don't have to worry about it. You can easily locate it anyways. So why do you worry about the tab is on, you know, open or not, right? So that's kind of managing the tab in a smarter way. Auto categorization, that's a table stake. A lot of the browser using that, you know, having that features, but we actually wanted to go, you know, a step further. So I'm giving you the browser history. I can tell more about browser history, you know, for a long time. In fact, the building I work in right now is the very building, Netscape, you know, IPO 30 years ago. And then this is such a historical building because literally you guys, you know, even before you were born, you know, you should know that Netscape is the company that started the internet age, right? You know, everyone else started after Netscape.
Yeah,
so I'm
actually,
curious. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'm curious since I also look at a lot of other products, and one product I was very curious about is like Operator, right? OpenAI's Operator. It's kind of a half-baked product. It's not really working yet, but the concept of like basically you talk to the AI and you can take control over the browsing. I mean, the virtual space is kind of crappy. Their Linux box is like need a lot of like refreshment, but overall the concept of like you take control, you help it do something, then you jump back, then you go to agentic mode. Feels to me like the correct way human interact with AI. I don't know, how do you think, Howie, since you guys think about browser all day, what's the right way for you to build this human AI interaction while you also need to actually browse, right? There's two modes, right? One is agentic, like you tell AI what to do. The other is more like actually doing the things as a human, like doing the demonstration, right?
Yeah, I mean, so eventually, I think the browser is going to evolve very, you know, fast from here. You know, like 5 years ago, if you say, "Hey, I'm working on a browser," you know, probably I'm wasting my time because Chrome is so dominant. There's no reason people would ever switch, right? But AI, you know, transformation is actually is at the tipping point. So everyone, you know, is looking forward to have the AI browser, you know, for the next 15 years. So at this point, I'm not worried about whether Chrome is going to be disrupted or not. It will be for sure at this point. 15 years from now, you know, none of the people on this, you know, listening to this stream will ever, you know, dare to say I'm using Chrome because that's so outdated. Not even 15 years, you know, 5 years from now. But you know, there will be a number of the vendors out there, right? You know, Norton Neo is kind of the one contenders. OpenAI wanted to be, you know, there are other contenders. I think everyone taking different approaches, like OpenAI, right? You know, the agentic workflow is kind of what they are kind of trying to do. I view agentic workflow is a pretty sexy and then cool things, but it's not a mainstream. I don't think a person wake up in the morning and then, you know, to the afternoon, to the evening, just do a, you know, ask a bunch of things for agentics, you know, workflow. It's still too far, right? You know, the reading news, right? Doing streaming, doing the email is still the regular thing. So we are trying to help people for their day-to-day thing first, you know, providing proactive, intelligent, and then personalized service, starting from that. And then, you know, gradually we give them more and more agentic workflow. Now, of course, OpenAI, because you know they have a crappy browser, so they started with, you know, the agentic workflow. That's a way to do that. You know, we'll see. You know, I'm pretty optimistic that, you know, people's life will be much better off with Neo Today. Going to neotoday.ai tonight.
I'm checking out the website. It's really cool. I'm curious, do you know like your ICP or target customer that you wanted to target?
That's you. That's you. So the two of you. So I need to convert the two of you. Then I'm done for today.
People who are knowledge workers, essentially people who are knowledge worker, AI native.
Yes and no. I think people who would appreciate it initially would be knowledge workers, but the really, we wanted to build this for the mass market actually, because keep in mind, ChatGPT is very hot, but still a lot of Americans still have not used the ChatGPT either ever or not much usage out of it, right? So with this browser, you don't have an excuse anymore because it's part of your browsing life. It's part of your workflow. So it's kind of we merged the search and the chat and then everything together in a seamless way. That's the intention.
I see. What do you think of Arc? There is a popular browser recently. Right?
It was popular, but it's end of life by their CEO. So my son.
But what's the product learning that they are doing correctly, and what are they doing wrong?
Well, this is okay. So there are so many things they did right, and there are so many things they did wrong. But let me give you just one high order bit, right? Arc was designed 5 years ago, 4 years ago, right? It was designed before the AI age. I can't imagine you can claim you are AI native product when the product was designed, architected 4 or 5 years ago. There's no way, right? So I think that fundamentally, that's the high order bit. I think a lot of people didn't necessarily understand, what I meant by this high order bit, but reality is that's the high order bit. You should just look at it, right? So I think they couldn't catch up or be the AI native browser for that reason. But otherwise, they have good engineers, they have, they can still do good stuff. I'm actually looking forward to have a competitor, who did Arc. This is a fun time. It's, you cannot be living in a better time than today to build the next generation browser.
I'm curious, what do you think Chrome is going to do? Do you think obviously they're trying to.
Okay, let me tell you.
Right? What do you think they're going to do?
The reason that Chrome has lots of good engineers, they can modify the Chrome in any day and then make that AI native browser, but they cannot. It's a business model thing, right? So Google has $200 billion search revenue. Search revenue. Roughly speaking, half of that search revenue, search traffic, come from Chrome. So do you think that they are going to change Chrome so that it's AI native, so that I don't need to necessarily go search, chat is enough? Like one of the things we do is if you want to Bank America, you type Bank America, you go to Bank America website. You don't go to 10 blue links, right? It's stupid for you to go to 10 blue links. But Google, wants you to see 10 blue links and then a bunch of, other advertisements. It's their $100 billion come from that browser. That's $100 billion thing they have. They cannot, overcome.
Yeah, disrupting that is actually challenging. There is a time ChatGPT tried to kind of give a search bar integration, where natively when you search, instead of hitting Google, you can hit ChatGPT. But sorry, it actually feels pretty bad somehow. I couldn't describe its speed or something, but I feel like you need some weird optimization to actually make the search bar experience work. And OpenAI probably do not have good enough product manager to get it actually working. It's like very rare to find those product geniuses that understand how to get something from first principle, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think the challenge what you describe is very real. I don't claim that we already have the world's perfect browser for anyone and everyone, right? But I think the direction is so obvious to me, like why you wouldn't have an AI native browser. This is kind of so obvious. But I think execution, is still, a long way to go for me and then for everyone else. So that's why I guess majority of people are still using Chrome, as of today. But it will change.
It's interesting. Okay. Yeah, actually, let me switch gear.
I have a question. Sorry, Howie. What do you think about the future of websites going to be? Because I make website, you make browser.
Very interesting. When you started this session, you talk about, I'm giving the neighborhood entrepreneurs, the yoga teacher, the musicians, the website, right? Which is like you said, a website is still the main digital presence they need today. No question about it. But when you were talking about it, it was like, okay, that's true today, but at some point they need their agents, right? Their presence is no longer the websites. Their presence is some other form factor, right? Musician agents or marketplace agent, whatever that agent means. And I think in the next 5 years, we are going to see website becoming less and less important. Less important. That's number one. Number two, browser has to serve not just websites, but also other form factors. I'm pretty sure, Xiaoying, your boss, AI boss is going to, not pivot, but add additional things. You're going to support more than websites. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen in the next few years. So I would say websites are going to be less and less important, but it won't disappear, right? SEO is still important, but there's this thing called the GEO, right? Optimizing in the AI era. I think that's going to be more important over time. So yeah.
Yeah, I take a more radical view. I think eventually it's all gonna be gone. It's just the gradient, how big the gradient will be. To me, it's more like
Some people
MCP.
will not proactively go to a surface. They will only ask their agent what to do. The agent will
Yeah,
give them.
yeah. Eventually, if you think about it, I feel like everyone will have the life of today's billionaires' life. Billionaires don't go to website and look at things themselves, right? They have 3 people or 5 people working behind them. Each person holds a phone, and then they do the search, and then they tell the people that sit behind WeChat, and the people sitting behind WeChat open up their browser and then start to work. So I think eventually everyone will live the life of the billionaire, not the life of the people that are working for the billionaire. So I kind of believe.
Bill told me this story yesterday, except that he didn't say billionaire. He used the real name, but I'm not going to, he used his investor as the name. But anyway, I was kind of imagining, okay, that's interesting. I will enjoy the life of his investor soon.
Yeah. So in some sense, I feel like the important thing is kind of MCP or agent, right? To me, MCP is more like a standardized agent that serve other agents. That's why I remember, Xiaoying, there was one day I called you up and say, hey, do you want to create MCP for HeyBoss? You were like, okay, I'm too busy serving human. I'm like, everyone just want to serving human because when you serve human, there is a stickiness, and then you can kind of like right, you give them like a freemium, like you basically loop them in, you make your product super sticky, you make it very hard to migrate so that they pay you for life. But eventually I feel like you somehow need to make the technology serving other AI, because it's a very precious opportunity to serve human. It's like you want to serve the emperor in the old days, but unfortunately you cannot, right? You have to serve the Unix. And it's like unfortunate facts. Today it's kind of true, right? You want
if AI can decide to pay me, then that's, I'm sure that will happen.
I think that's the major thing. It's like somehow AI needs to figure out how to pay other people, right? Today MCP, it didn't still work that the one AI should pay the other AI, while if the other AI can send some ads or like sell some clothes or sell some coin to another AI, there should be some advertisement payment for the attention. And I think a lot of that piece is missing, so that it people are not willing to build it because there is no economy. I feel like in the next, I would radically predict probably 3 years, this economy will start to actually kick in and mimic how like a human interaction happen. And there will be like kind of like a agentic economy that one AI just serve another AI, then like after 20 AI making different services, eventually the last AI that knows the human well enough will eventually get to serve the human. It's like it's a very precious opportunity to serve the human, right? If you think about it, so compute is cheaper and cheaper, but human time and attention is very limited.
Yeah, I think Bill is looking forward to for someone holding his phone, all the time at this point. Going back to what Xiaoying you said, right? What's the future of the browser? Or what's the future of the website? I want to say one thing. You see neotoday.ai. Not long ago, this our domain name is neobrowser.ai.
Oh,
And I debated, right? Should we call it a browser? In some ways, browser means the traditional browser, right? I actually feel like the traditional browser will go away. I don't know it's as fast as 3 years, but I think in the next 3, 5, 10 years, right? The browser we know today will be radically changing. I think that's pretty clear. So I've got to go. This is actually a very good 1 hour chat. I learned a lot from both Bill and Xiaoying. Thank you for your
yeah, it's
time.
really fun.
Yeah,
Maybe I need
thanks so
to
much.
work on the agent sooner. If you were saying websites, we did.
Okay, cool. That's you get to work harder tonight.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, appreciate it. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.